Now entering Nerdist.com.
Today we learn.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Alrighty. You're listening to Today We Learned. My name is Razzle.
And I'm Dan.
With us we got Making Wrestling Noises.
That was my rap name. Those are my rap voices.
The rap voices. Yeah!
Yeah.
We got the very funny Jeff Dye.
Here I am, Jeff Dye, civil rights activist.
Civil rights activist, you've seen him on MTV, you've seen him on Last Comic Standing.
All true.
TBS, you got a new thing on
TBS,
TBS.
Look at the Last Laugh, Girl Code on MTV, Extreme Makeover Home Edition on ABC.
ABC, all the networks.
I know, man.
You just need to get on the new.
If you own a TV, he's been in your house.
That's true. That is true.
Been in your
I'm like
house.
a Ouija board.
He's infiltrated your house with or without your knowledge.
That's right. I'm fine with it. And get used to it, people, because that's my goal.
That's to take over the world.
Yeah, that's true. That's my goal.
So, Jeff, tell us, this is a podcast that's ostensibly about facts, spreading them, learning, all that fun stuff. Tell us a fact about yourself that we might not know.
One thing I'm obsessed with is rats.
Rats?
Yeah, one of my running things is I do rat facts.
Interesting.
So a lot of the close people know this
I
about me.
remember this.
Or like Nikki Glazer's like obsessed with it. She'll be like, Jeff, give us a rat fact. And at any point, I can give you a rat fact.
Okay.
Like rats can eat chocolate, but if they chew on wood and certain cedars, they'll die. Rat fact. That's a
What?
truth. That's a rat fact.
That's a rat fact.
Rats
Yeah.
don't have gallbladders.
Two
Rat facts. There it is.
So the gallbladder's involved in chocolate digestion, but it can't handle...
Wood, some kind of
Wow.
cedars. Yeah, strange, right?
The
I
more
like
you know.
this. I think this might have to be a recurring thing. Jeff Dye's rat fact.
Yeah.
Rat
The
fact
fun
of the
thing
week.
too is the funnest part's just getting to shout rat fact after you say rat fact.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the
you gotta
best
let them
part.
know what kind of fact they just
Sure.
learned.
People go, that was strange. Why does he know so much about rats? I don't know.
I like
Big fan of the
saying
movie
rat
Willard.
fact.
Yeah. You know, a group of rats is called a nuisance.
A nuisance of rats. That's a good, it's like a murder of crows, a
Yeah.
gaggle of geese. A nuisance of
rat
rats
fact.
just fits.
A nuisance.
Yeah, it's fun.
I wonder how they came up with that.
Yeah,
So that
I
was.
think I know.
Is that where the term nuisance is derived from? Like
I
you're
believe
being
it
a
is.
Nuisance?
Yeah, like, what's that? Like when a bunch of owls are together? What is that called?
A hoot.
No, colony. No. Something political. And then
Political,
the
we
politics
got the
took
net.
it from the owls.
Okay.
Does that make
Congress,
sense?
maybe.
No, it's like a
Parliament of owls.
parliament
Okay.
of owls,
Yes.
and then the government took that from
Uh-huh.
that owl term. So I bet the nuisance thing is probably taken from the rats.
Parliament of Owls also sounds like the shittiest band that your friend was in high school.
It's like
Yeah.
It's a fusion of Parliament Funkadelic and Owl City.
Yeah.
Finally.
Well, that's a good thing for people to know too. Like, if your band name's too clever or something like that, usually you're crap.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's usually what it is. Like, improv troops love to do that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
hey, hey guys, thanks for coming. We're Yoda's penis. And you're like, this is going to be the worst show ever. You can just leave.
It's,
That's
it's even worse when they try to get like the pun in there, like Mission Improbable. or
Yes.
Happily Ever Laughter.
Barf. I'm allergic to that. Like,
Yeah.
I just leave. And they go, what? We didn't even start yet. And he's mad at
All
us.
you need is one audience member to get started.
Yeah, like, I'm going to the bathroom. And then you just hear my car starting.
Yeah. In my car.
Oh, he got really good parking. We can hear him from the theater.
Out of here. Well, there's not usually a lot of people at those shows.
Yeah.
Just the UCB students, the ones that have to go to the shows. That's how
Gotta
they
get 2 in if you want to graduate on
That's
time
how
with all
they-
your credits.
That's how they fill those theaters every
X
day.
amount of
All
dollars.
students.
Interns. You can intern for free classes.
Absolutely.
That's funny. That's funny. Cool.
I hope they don't hear this and make fun of it and get mad at
yeah,
me.
they-
well,
It's a cult. UCB will kill me.
Yeah, well, they might have the Masons.
Actually, that's right. I'm
Maybe
getting
they
in Masons.
UCB is the masonry of the comedy of the improv comedy troupe. Right?
I love it.
Now, UCB is improv, right? And then
It is.
Second City is sketch. Is that a thing?
they all dabble in a little bit of both nowadays. That is, they all have to have hands in many pots because there's so many people vying for
Okay.
these limited amount of spots, and everyone loves money.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I like money.
But getting back to rat facts,
Yes.
did you know that the origin of 6 Feet Under, it's related to rats? It comes from a 1665 outbreak of bubonic plague in England, and because the disease was sweeping through the country, the mayor of London laid down the law saying that in order to avoid further infection, all bodies had to be buried 6 feet below the surface so as to avoid, spreading the disease through other vectors, namely rats.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Although, did you know that it's almost impossible, like 0.00000% to get rabies from a rat?
Really?
Yeah, they're not as dirty as people think, and they bathe over 7 times a day. They clean themselves.
Is it? Well, is it just? Is it just rabies, or is it other diseases too?
I think it's just rabies. I mean,
Okay.
I think they carry diseases like
Yeah.
a pigeon would or something like that. But I imagine a pigeon is much more
Oh,
cleanly
God.
than a rat. But the rats get those bad rap, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the rabies is a disease carried by like a bite.
Yeah.
So does that mean their mouths are clean then as well? Because I understand they're cleaning their skin and their fur, but
They brush
I
their
don't know.
teeth 7 times a
they
day.
brush their
Yeah.
teeth 7
That's a
times
good rat fact right there.
Yeah.
See, I got to throw one in that's just nonsense
Yeah,
every
so
once
you
in
gotta
a
keep
day.
people guessing. 'Cause you don't want to get too comfortable around rats.
84% of rats are Republican.
Rat fact.
That one's not real, guys. That's rat
Well,
bullcrap.
one of these-
I'm from a rat state, so I don't appreciate that.
That's rat crap. That's what that was.
One of these facts is not like the other, as they say.
So tell the people what this premise of this podcast is, or do they already know?
This will be the second episode, so hopefully they're
Yeah.
hopefully they're hip
If
to
you-
the knowledge. If you're tuning in for the first time,
Right.
basically the name of the podcast, as you've seen on the link that you've clicked, is Today We Learned, and it's basically we troll the net and the web and just the world to bring you knowledge that we've learned recently.
You know, but there's a lot of knowledge out there, so what are you, the listener, going to do? Simple, just sit back, relax, let us do the fact-finding for you, because we trawl through the trenches, digital and otherwise, to bring you facts, useless, useful, anything.
And the best way to be interesting with your friends is to that's a good way to start a conversation. You know, you're in a
Absolutely.
boring car ride, and be like, hey, I was listening to this podcast the other day,
Yeah.
and they said they taught me this. And then you could just ramble off something as your own, start your own dialogue.
Absolutely. Then you can start, sharing knowledge with the person in your car.
Yeah.
Hey, I was listening to this podcast the other day, and there was this guy kept shouting rat facts.
Yeah.
He's got shows on
6
TV.
feet under? What
Yeah.
is-
Or
where
if
did that
you're,
term
you
come
know-
from? Well, that's interesting you ask, Gretchen, because I just learned that 6 feet under comes from
Yeah.
regurgitate
Or
these
if
as
you're
your
at
own.
a particularly rat-centric bar trivia.
Yeah,
Gretchen, also a name that probably was derived from the bubonic plague era.
absolutely. Yeah, Gretchen was
I
Hey,
hate
you
to
don't
know
see too
anybody-
many Gretchens nowadays.
Yeah.
tricky. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, everyone's blue ivy now.
One of these days, you're going to have a celebrity who goes really old school, like Martha or Gretchen.
Patience.
Or
Dorothy.
Dorothy. Dorothy? That's funny. That's
Well, speaking of old school, Milton Bradley, the
Okay.
well-known, respected board game designer. He's,
Loves board games.
Got all sorts of stuff.
Not the
Parker Brothers.
outfielder who hit his wife in the face with a coffee table. Right?
No, not
Different
that
guy.
one. Slightly different Milton Bradley. This is Milton
another
Bradley
fact: a
who,
Milton Bradley baseball player hit his wife in the face with a chair.
Broke a coffee table
Coffee
over his
table.
wife's face. Yeah, it's true.
was the. I'm just trying to picture the logistics of how this would happen.
That's the thing. I wanted more details too.
Yeah.
Like when I read it, I was like, "Wait, did he pick it up and
Yeah.
like slam it over her
Is
face
this-
like a pro wrestler, or did
Is
he
this
like
a wooden
take
table,
her face?"
glass? Like what
I
are we
think it was
talking
glass.
here?
I think it was glass.
Glass coffee
Wow.
table.
Yeah, broke it over her face, and she kept it under wraps because she didn't want him to get in trouble with the league or get fired or go to jail because they were married. And then after she left him, like 6 months later, then she told everyone about what happened.
Well, yeah, because her face was probably still bleeding, and only
Sure.
snitches get stitches.
Well, there should be a statute of limitations on.
Yeah, on
yeah, come
when
on.
you can snitch.
Yeah.
There's a statute of
6
limitations
months
on-
later, I
Yeah.
thought we were over that.
Coffee table assault has a 5-month grace period.
Yeah, I don't understand why you're giving me a hard time. I
We
thought
got a new table.
I
I thought we
bought
moved
you
on.
dinner.
Yeah.
You were fine with me for 6
I
months.
told you to use the coasters.
I-
You weren't using
I
the
said
coasters.
I'm sorry. Sure, you got a little quiet when Chris Brown came on the radio every
Yeah.
week, but so
So
different
back to
Milton Bradley.
Different Milton Bradley, the board game designer.
Right.
So during the Civil War, he introduced the game, the checkered game of life, better known now as simply the game of life.
Sure.
And it became immensely popular. And they used a spinner to avoid, instead of dice, to avoid negative connotations associated with gambling. Pointing finger. You would point fingers. Text indicated where you should go and where you should land on. And interestingly enough, they don't have this anymore, but there used to be a suicide square.
Yep.
And if you landed on that, you were just out of the game.
You had to hang yourself.
Yes, you had. It depends on how seriously your family
You'd
takes
be like,
board game night.
go in the other
But
room,
it-
get
yeah.
a rope.
That's part of the board game.
The
Like,
harsh
listen,
rules.
I
There's
had,
harsh rules.
I had
There's
twins
a-
when I landed on that space.
Yeah,
Well-
yeah. Now
well-
it's just Sam.
That's funny because one of the old Monopoly pieces was a gun. No,
That's not true.
they gave all the nooses and the murder pieces to Clue. Clue took all those.
Yeah, they took all that.
Clues to have an Irishman burning an effigy.
That's the smartest joke you're going to hear all podcasts right there.
It's all downhill from here.
Turn the podcast off. No, that's the smartest joke you're going to hear.
When Jeff's your guest, there's not the most cerebral jokes. I'm glad he's here.
The original Game of Life as well, not only was there a Suicide Square, but it was also essentially looked like a checkerboard. Mm-hmm. It was all squares. It wasn't like the windy road and all of that. And the spinner was actually like a modified dreidel, essentially. It was like a 6-sided top that you spun, and on each sides of the spinner were the numbers of corresponding spaces like that. So then it eventually evolved into the bright and colorful Game of Life we know today, with the roads and the cars.
But what a dork!
Wheel of
He
Fortune.
wasn't trying to. He's like, well, people think dice is like gambling, so I don't like.
Well, apparently all the board games back then were just thinly veiled attempts to teach people morals, but. Who wants morals when you can win and beat your friends and family?
And also, like, why is gambling so bad?
Yeah, well, I mean,
there's a problem, sure, but there's a drinking problem, and it doesn't mean we should abolish alcohol from the world.
It promoted dangerous activities like dancing.
Gambling is a great
smooching,
way
hand holding before
ankle
marriage,
displayery.
Sure, all that stuff. But it's like, who cares? Like, why are you trying? Like, who? Like. It's fine. Kids can play dice without...
Yeah, and obviously it eventually went... I mean, that was just Milton Bradley. I believe more of his games now obviously have dice. But when he first came out, that was his first board game that essentially started off the Milton Bradley empire. Before that, he was a graphic designer of sorts. And the only success he really had was of a portrait of Abraham Lincoln beardless.
Oh, really?
So he sold a lot of prints. Milton Bradley sold prints of... Jeff, you're a fan of art. Obviously, Jeff. We're in Jeff Dye's house, and he's got amazing artwork hung up around his place. And Milton Bradley was a printer. He was a designer.
He was like the Shepherd Ferry of the Civil War.
Yeah, he was the Shepherd Ferry of back in the day. And his famous portrait that made him the most money was of Abraham Lincoln sans beard, which obviously didn't sell too well once Abraham Lincoln decided to grow facial hair. So
that's like
he was
Lincoln's rookie
money.
card.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do a painting of just like an old man without teeth or hair, and then people be like, "What is that?" And I'd be like, "Oh, that's George Washington." Like, well, the real George Washington when he's not wearing his wig and has his fake teeth in.
That's when he's going to bed.
It's like going to bed, G-Dub. You know?
That's like if you go to like an amusement park and you take off like the mascot's head.
Yeah.
He's a mute.
It's slightly disrespectful, but also like that's pretty real.
Yeah,
like that's pretty real.
You know, he didn't keep those wooden teeth in all the time. I'm sure.
That's right. It hurts.
Yeah.
Here's something you might not know. Things these people can learn. George Washington's teeth were on springs that made his mouth open. So all day, he must have had the strongest jaw in the world because he had to actually apply pressure to keep them shut because they would open on their own.
Okay.
And so that was the only way. All day, he's just biting his teeth down.
Otherwise, he just looked mildly surprised all day.
With his mouth open.
Whoa.
We're really shocking George over there.
Yeah.
That's why, man...
Because back then they didn't have a way to keep Lonnie or like they didn't have like mouth glue and stuff, so like they had to like do the opposite where just keep it open all the time.
Keep it open.
Yeah, it's weird.
Man, he must have had a jaw.
Nice little fact.
Yeah.
You know, well, speaking of sort of outdated traditions, things like that, apparently in Germany, I don't know if they still do this, but there's a couple traditions surrounding a wedding. One of which is there's a tradition where you have to kidnap the bride. The bride's family after the wedding will kidnap her, and the groom then has to go and find her. And it always starts out at a pub, and anyone who wants to join him, he has to pay them with drinks.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But now so what's the tradition? Like, so say it again, like more simple.
So after the wedding, before the honeymoon,
Okay.
the bride's family will kidnap the bride, sequester her away from the groom, and the groom will have to start at a pub and essentially go on a drunk scavenger hunt for his lady love.
That's
I
funny.
love it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's
So
the best tradition I've
not
ever
only
heard.
does he need to foot the bill for the wedding, but he also needs to find his wife before they can consummate.
Well, and also like
Love it.
maybe if he's just had a long day and he's stressed out, you take a little time.
take
Fine.
time.
Yeah, you'd be like, fellas, let's get around and I'll go find my bride.
I had a little too much cake. I'm gonna take a little break here and hang out with my boys.
I love that.
That's funny.
And there's another tradition. This is after they found each other, called Baumstammschagen, which translates roughly to tree log sawing, and essentially they have to work together with a giant hacksaw to saw a log in half to represent how they're going to work together on the problems that face them in their marriage. I don't know about you, but that sounds like one of the shittiest ways to start out a honeymoon.
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially after the fun of the scavenger hunt, then you have to just saw
Be
something
like, let's
in
discuss
half.
our problems. Nothing.
Yeah.
You're perfect.
You're doing it wrong. It's basically, this is like the German...
I just lie.
It's like
I
the
just
German
lie.
prototype
Like,
for The
you're-
Amazing Race.
You're perfect. Everything's great.
Yeah.
That's the only way to start a honeymoon. Lies.
Yeah.
Build a
It's the best way
relationship
to
on
do it.
lies.
Well, here's something that's pretty cool. So back in 1919, there was a Cleveland Indians pitcher by the name of Ray Caldwell, and he recorded a complete game against the Philadelphia A's, now the Oakland A's, but the thing is, he recorded the complete game after he was struck by lightning in the middle of the ninth inning. He then, quote, shook it off and got the final out for the win.
Okay, now Jeff, you're a big baseball fan.
Yeah.
What does recorded a game mean? What does recorded mean? What is that?
Right, it means he finished the game.
So he finished the game. Now, he finished the game. Now, when I first heard of this, I'm like, holy smokes, that's amazing. But then I realized the ninth inning is typically the last inning of a baseball game anyways. So in
He
theory,
only had to throw one out.
in theory,
but
he could have only
still.
thrown...
Hey, throwing anything after you get struck by lightning is
Yeah.
incredible. Yesterday, a baseball player named J.A. Happ was pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I don't know how this hasn't happened more often. Baseball player hits it for the Tampa Bay Rays, hits it right back up the pipe, hits the pitcher right in the ear, knocks him out. He's bleeding out of his ear, and he gets taken off the field on a stretcher.
Okay.
That was just a baseball coming back up, let alone lightning from nature. You know what I'm saying? That's a pretty big...
Yeah, that's interesting too, especially now in baseball they have to use wooden bats, right?
Right?
Okay. So...
Yeah, a metal bat would have killed him.
Oh, well, yeah, but, okay, yeah, exactly. And he would have been pitching too. And this is interesting too because it was in 1919, so that was a long time ago.
And
Like,
back then, it was more typical for a pitcher to throw the entire game, to just play from first. From the
But
first pitch to
lightning
all
has
9
always
innings.
been as devastating.
Yes, lightning has always been a pitcher's worst enemy.
That's not that 1900 lightning.
Yeah,
That's nothing.
That's pussy lightning.
Yeah, it's not like nowadays.
old timey lightning.
Well, I just want to
Yeah.
see. I want to see how that's possible. I don't understand. Obviously, there was no video or anything, but like, what? How has that happened?
I just want to hear the newscast, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to all the 1920s. I don't know how do they talk like. Get extra.
We got some great news.
Yeah.
Jerry's on the
Great news.
run.
Kenny,
Yeah.
Kenny, extra. Cleveland pitchers Ray Caldwell struck by lightning finishes game.
Well, it's crazy too. Like what? Like
Women
so
still can't vote.
I would love to know. Like
Yeah.
he got struck by lightning, and then the coaches run out. I picture the trainers running out, and we'd be like, "Oh my God, you were struck by lightning." He's like, "I'm fine. I'll finish."
Yeah.
Like
They
what
probably
kind
didn't
of
even have trainers back then.
what kind
It
of
was like-
man are you trying to
Yeah,
be?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just gave him a fresh lump of chewing tobacco,
Sure.
pat on the
Yeah.
back, and you just finish the game.
there's no time to be tough here.
No.
Maybe you should go see somebody.
You're not Superman.
Hey,
here. You're not,
we do have more than one pitcher. It's cool. We can set
Yeah,
a precedent.
nobody's
No.
gonna call you a pussy
Nay.
if you leave the game after getting struck by lightning. Milk it a little bit,
the
get
only
some
one-
attention.
The only one who would is Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I wonder
that guy
if
was
nowadays
amazing.
we'd be talking about it. Like if they would have come up with a podcast like, oh, this guy got struck by lightning while he's pitching. Like, is the reason this is a cool fact is because he finished the game? Like, is that
Probably.
why?
I think so. I think it's just because, after
but
getting
even-
struck by lightning, you'd assume that you
Sure.
don't want to lie down or walk it
Even
off.
surviving though, I'd like to know. I mean, this would have been something to look. Maybe we'll look forward for next time on Today We Learn what the percentages of surviving a lightning strike is.
Sure.
Because I mean, just surviving it alone, being able to function is a miracle. Without needing, without having any distinct damage.
How would you search that? Survival.
What's the percentage of lightning struck survivors? We're going to look this up for you while I bring this next fact up here. The blockbuster season, bunch of
Yes.
blockbusters are coming up. Superman, they're coming out with a new movie called Man of Steel, which is about Superman. Now, here's a fact for you.
Not Shaq.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
Shaq.
not Shaquille O'Neal.
We're not-
That was just steel.
That was just Steel.
Yeah. Awful movie.
Awful movie. Another awful movie was Shazam or Kazam.
Actually, that was a cool movie.
Kazam, I didn't like it.
That was the
I'm not
best. That was the best Pepsi commercial
I was
I've ever
8.
Was it
seen.
a Pepsi
I was
commercial?
8 when I saw it, so
Yeah.
it didn't bother me.
It's in that like sweet spot of movies that you should never revisit, like Fern Gully or perhaps Dunstan checks.
My buddy Josh, he has an affinity for tattoos, and on his leg, He has a tattoo of MacGyver. He has a tattoo of Bruce Willis, and he also has a tattoo on his thigh of Shaquille O'Neal as Kazan.
Wow.
The Holy Trinity right
It's
there.
like, oh,
How do we get
man.
a picture of that?
I'll get a picture and we'll
Put it
post
on the website. Yeah,
we'll
that's
put it on
great.
the website here. Back to Superman here, though. Speaking of the movie coming out next month in June, there a long time ago, everybody knows that Superman's weaknesses are kryptonite and magic. If you didn't know magic
I didn't know that. Magic.
Magic is one of
Magic
Superman's
Johnson.
weakness.
Yeah. The Orlando Magic always
Yes.
be
They just
Superman.
dunk on him relentlessly.
Yeah, he's like, I'm one guy.
He's like the Washington Generals to their Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Can I get a center around here? This is ridiculous. It's just all of them are dunking.
That's a funny sketch. Well, that's a funny sketch idea. Superman playing a game
The
of
Orlando
basketball
Magic.
against the Orlando Magic.
And the new expansion team, the Cincinnati Kryptonite. It's going to be a rough schedule.
But anyways, there's a pink kryptonite. Generally, kryptonite is green or red. From a Supergirl comic book, Volume 4, number 79, in an alternate Earth 1 timeline. It was released in 2003. The Supergirl storyline had that there was a pink kryptonite that actually gave Superman gay tendencies. Like he was flattering. He was giving Jimmy Olsen flattering compliments about the wardrobe and decorative sense. And,
Really, made him more feminine.
Yeah, the pink kryptonite made Superman a little more feminine. Which I looked into this on the kryptonite on Wikipedia. I looked at the different types of kryptonite, and there's also a periwinkle kryptonite.
Oh, my.
Which I don't even know what the color periwinkle looks like.
It's like a light blue.
Okay, so there was a light blue kryptonite that, according to the Superman Family Adventures, made Superman, in quotations, fabulous. That's the effect of the periwinkle kryptonite had. Superman was making him fabulous.
So not a lot of differences between the periwinkle
No,
and
yeah.
the pink
But,
kryptonite.
but the periwinkle kryptonite caused Superman to dance.
It gave, the pink one only gave him gay tendencies.
Oh, yeah, just a
This
little
one made him
Fabulous.
fabulous.
I love that.
Yeah, so instead of heat vision, he would just like shoot glitter out of his eyes. It's crazy.
Hey Superman, what'd you do today? Oh, I fought Lex Luthor and danced.
I'm trying to find the periwinkle one. I see the pink.
Pink K.
Makes
Pink kryptonite.
just straight up says it right there. Makes Superman gay.
Yeah,
They weren't beating
they're not
around the
pulling
bush.
any punches.
Pulling any
Yeah.
punches.
They weren't trying to be coy about it or anything. They're just like, oh yeah, one of these pink rocks
Yeah.
makes him gay.
one of those. And Kryptonite is what it is. It's parts of his old home planet.
Yeah. Sure.
So that was just from the like West Hollywood of Krypton.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's all it
Hollywood
is.
version of Krypton.
But in what writer's room were they just like, listen, guys, we've made a lot of books. Anybody got any ideas? And then some homophobic guy's like,
Yeah.
"Wait, what if we get one of the kryptonites, like a pink kryptonite or something, makes him a queer? Huh? What do you think about
Yeah,
that?"
super queero.
Yeah, and everybody's like, "That doesn't sound like a horrible
Well,
idea."
we haven't done it yet.
I hope they don't discuss this 30 years later when the world has evolved.
Yeah, right. Movie spinoff.
Yeah, that's crazy. So is it? How old was this?
This was actually
believe it or not.
2003.
Oh, so not that long.
This
Not
one,
that
it was
long ago.
actually, it was a bit of satire. They were
God.
trying to gently poke fun at the Silver Age of comics when that sort of stuff was
Not
more
taboo,
admissible.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's still
interesting.
pretty funny. It's still, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that it took that long to come up with that, because considering back in the day, they had, comic books were
Yeah,
more
they had the
campy.
They had the Comics Code Authority as well. That would have prevented something that would have been too explicit, like being fabulous.
Yeah, fabulous. Here's something. This is completely non-related to any of this. I recently learned this. Speaking of learning things, I read a tweet my brother tweeted, and this will be a short story to how I figured out about this. My brother just recently realized that the root and the word root beer is derived from the fact that root beer was originally flavored with roots from plants. So I was looking further into my brother's timeline on Twitter, and he mentioned the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. Now I read this Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, and I'm like, okay, what is that? So I looked into it, And the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon is the phenomenon where one happens upon some obscure place of information, often an unfamiliar word or name, and soon afterwards encounters the same subject again. So if you're reading something and you hear a phrase or a term, and it sticks out in your brain, and then the next day you see it again, and the third day you see it again, that's the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon.
So that's like a cognitive bias where it's just your brain locks into that phrase and you just pick it out.
Because and that's where a lot of like coincidences come from. Is we think it's a coincidence, but it's just our brain recognizing a beginning and an ending to a pattern of something that's
like
new.
I wanted to buy a yellow car a long time ago. It was 10 years or something. Then I started noticing how many yellow cars are on the street.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of yellow cars now that I think of it.
Yep.
Well, it's not
It's like in Grand Theft Auto when you hijack a minivan, then all of a sudden every car on the street is that minivan.
Yeah, it's exactly that. You don't notice yellow cars until you start looking to buy one. And then your brain's got that ingrained. Okay, well, then all of a sudden you start noticing them.
Sure.
It's the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, which
They should have put a better name to it.
Well, coincidentally enough, I'm reading here on the damninteresting.com. This is where I found this information. The Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, they're unsure of where whoever came up with that name for that, but there was a German guerrilla group, a guerrilla warfare group that was named the Bader-Meinhof. So
the Bader-Meinhof gang. That actually inspired that movie, The Bader-Meinhof Complex.
Okay. Yeah, it was a German urban guerrilla group which went by the name Bader-Meinhof. So they think, supposedly, whoever came up with this idea learned recently about the
they started seeing far-left guerrilla groups everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Well, what a lot of German facts today we're going through.
Yeah, because they're sehr gut.
Well,
let's take things over to Southeast Asia first for a second. Because,
I was about to ask you to.
Yeah, well, you might not after this, because if you're planning a vacation to Malaysia anytime soon,
sure,
you might want to go there have a good time, like a sexy vacation, but beware, because blowjobs are illegal in Malaysia and carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison.
They'll never catch me. They'll never catch me.
Never catch me.
You can also be sentenced to whipping.
Is that just receiving or giving? Because I don't plan on giving.
Yeah, I wasn't going to give any blowjobs.
It's not clear. It's oral sex is described as carnal intercourse against the order of nature under Section 37(7)(a) of the Penal Code in Malaysia.
Hey, Malaysia, keep your laws on my body.
Yeah. Keep your government mouth off my...
What? So what? So I don't. You know what? If I was in Malaysia and I was having a good time with a young lady, and the cops busted in while she was giving me a blowjob, I'd just be like, "Get her! She's a criminal!
Help!
Get her! What's happening?
It's a drive-by!
Get her!" This was a.
That's the thing. Is like
this was a sting.
Like how do you get caught? If you're getting down to the business,
let's be honest. This is one of those things that's like a real old thing. That
I think it's because
there's lots of laws that aren't enforced.
I think it might be part and parcel of Sharia law, which I think had an influence in some of their policies. I was also reading that while it's considered illegal, it's not abnormal. A lot of Malaysian couples participate in oral sex.
They ain't afraid. They ain't afraid.
Anal sex is illegal too.
Sure.
So,
is that why when I look at certain porns, like from like Asian countries, their wieners are all blurred out?
That's a Japanese.
They don't want them to identify the wiener to get arrested.
Scene of the crime.
Yeah. Like, what if they recognize my wiener? Don't worry, we'll blur it in editing. Yeah. She's running the risk. Her face is in the video.
Oh, he's the guy with the blurry dick.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to pick his wiener out of a lineup.
These are all blurry.
These are all blurry.
Speaking of countries, while we're at it here, here's a little fact. Russia, you can actually see, believe it or not, you can see parts of Russia from Alaska. There's two little islands within a short distance of each other, a little less than 2.5 miles apart. Big Diomede is an island which sits in Russian territory. And Little Diomede sits in the part of the United States Alaskan territory. And on a clear day, you can actually see parts of each island from each other. So technically, you can see Russia from Alaska.
So Sarah Palin was not, in fact...
She wasn't blowing smoke up our collective asses. She just... you can. On a clear day.
Kind of like how in Los Angeles, on a clear day, you can see a couple streets over.
Correct. So that's a little thing, a side note, which is interesting because when it's really cold, you can technically walk from Alaska to Russia, much like the ancestors did many, many years ago.
We got to get our border patrol up there.
Yeah, and here's something fun. You can, when you can see the island from Alaska, the Big Diomede in Russian sits on the other side of the international date line, so you're actually looking into the future from Alaska. So you're seeing tomorrow.
Sure.
You just know that some shit is going to go down there sometime soon. Like the planets are going to align, the ice bridge will form, and then like a time portal will just erupt.
Man.
I hope.
There you go.
I like that Sarah Palin was right.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
She wasn't completely wrong, yeah.
Although, much like coffee table limitations, the statute of limitations on her being considered correct is also expired.
That's right. Yeah, no, we've just all accepted she's a
we've just moved on.
Some wolf shooting freak.
Thankfully, she just kept digging.
That's right.
Well, let's continue our world tour, and this time we'll go to the UK in Britain. The British Army, I know.
Just kidding.
Not for everyone, but, they technically created us, so
yeah.
Thanks,
but if you like biscuits and cigarettes, let's do it.
I prefer them inside, just a nice pasty.
Yeah, a nice cigarette biscuit.
Yeah.
That's their thing.
And you just dip it with some clotted cream. Perfect. But the British Army, and this is going to appeal to a lot of people who really dread doing laundry, the British Army has underwear that you can wear for 3 months at a time.
Yeah, well, I think you can do that with any underwear. We just choose not to.
Well, this is specifically designed. It's made from artificial fibers for comfort, and there's silver particles woven into the seams to prevent sweating.
Oh, jeez.
It's coded to prevent bacterial infection, and one Colonel Silas Suchenik said they've tried to arrange the seams so that they don't chafe. So at least there's that. Because if you're a sniper, something like that, you're not going to be moving for hours and hours.
Yeah, never 3 months though. I think that might be a little long.
That's when if you have worn your underwear for 3 months, that's when you just get straight up discharged.
Like after 7 days, you go back to base camp. They're like, "Hey, you can change them. You don't have to do the whole 3 months."
Yeah,
they're fine.
Yeah, but just think about those poor people who had to do quality assurance testing on these underwear.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Well, they're
So that's 4 pairs of underwear a year.
Yeah, essentially, if worn correctly.
No laundry, just the 4 underwear.
Here's a side note, though, which is interesting. This article that mentions when this underwear was developed and released was 2005. Prior to then, the British soldiers actually had to supply their own undergarments. So it's like you can fight for our country and fight for our freedom, but you got to supply.
You got to bring your own bloomers.
You got to bring your own fruit of the loom,
which is crazy though. Like I don't know much about our military either. Do they have?
Yeah.
Do they have to bring their own underwear? Or do they get underwear?
I'd like to think in the billions of budget and R&D we spend on military, I'd like to think our soldiers get free underwear.
It's hard to tell. I'd like to know.
You get 1 free pair when you sign up.
We're opening up the phone lines.
But the rest is up to you.
We're taking calls.
Are you in the military? Do you wear underwear?
Did they give you underwear? I'd like to know.
What's in your pants?
Maybe that care package I send to our soldiers is going to have some Fruit of the Loom in it.
Exactly.
Some H&M designer edition.
Let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
I'm on a budget.
The smiley face Joe boxers.
Yeah, I'm not giving these soldiers better underwear than what I wear.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem fair.
Since we're on the topic of Brits,
okay.
I think this is a podcast that doesn't need segues, guys.
I think, exactly.
Let's just do it.
Well, this is related. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if we're not going segues here, why don't you give us another rat fact, Mr.
Yeah, quick little rat fact to break up all this continental...
Rats do not have canine teeth. Rat fact!
Okay.
That's true.
Do they have incisors?
No canine
They have
teeth.
molars?
It's hard to say.
They just got little rat teeth?
I just know they don't have canines.
I don't know what they have in their mouth. I just know they don't have canines.
No canine teeth.
Duly noted.
Alrighty, you were bringing us
back to Britain. The role of James Bond, traditionally played by a Brit. However, in the past, it has been offered to several actors not of British descent, including Adam West, Clint Eastwood, and Burt Reynolds, but they all turned it down because they felt ardently in their heart of hearts that it should be played by a British man.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were... And it generally was, I believe, right? Up until Daniel Craig.
Yeah, well, he's... what is he?
Australian.
Yes.
Right?
What? I thought he was...
Isn't he? I could be wrong. Okay, well then what? Is Timothy Dalton? One of them I know... We'll look it up here.
I could have sworn that Craig is
British.
but he's
blonde.
English. He's English.
Okay. but he's a blonde. That was where the
that's the thing. That's
the thing is that James Bond is generally a dark hair.
More like James Blonde.
James Blonde.
Someone might have said.
James Bond, which Moonraker. Do you have more about James Bond?
I have a list of people that were offered the role and turned it down.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. Ewan McGregor in 2005 turned it down for fear of being typecast as too handsome and dangerous.
Okay.
Hugh Jackman also in 2005. He wasn't satisfied with the plot direction. Liam Neeson, 94, was not interested in starring in action movies. Who knew that one day we would get 2 Takens and one Taken with wolves?
And Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that skit by Key and Peele. If you haven't seen it, look it up.
That is terrific.
Liam Neeson and Bruce Willis.
Maybe that's what happened in the Wolf flick. What was that called?
The Grey.
The Grey. Maybe that's what happened in The Grey. He was like, listen, I don't do action movies. So you're just going to have to make it real boring the whole time. And then when I'm about to kill some wolves, end the movie.
Exactly.
Don't show it, because I hate action.
Yeah.
Because that was the slowest, most boring movie I've ever seen in my life.
If you want to relive that experience, there's a video on YouTube called Liam Neeson Stares at You for 10 Hours.
Yeah.
It's just that scene of him,
It's the worst.
staring, cold, dead-eyed, about to kill some wolves. But then
Yeah,
has
they
to
showed
cut to Grey.
previews of a man about to fight some wolves. He's got like the broken mini bottles on his hands, and it looks like he's about to beat up some wolves. And then you go to the movie, you're like, I came to see some wolf punching. Nothing.
Exactly.
Not a single wolf fight.
And that's disappointing in particular because he really delivered in Taken.
Yeah.
You just want to see
It's
him kick some
upsetting.
ass.
Yeah, I want to see some kicks. That's why I watch these things. It's frustrating.
Back to talking about movies. We don't need segues, but we got one. This is a perfect segue. Talking about James Bond. Roger Moore was in Moonraker, which was one of the more campier versions of episodes of James Bond franchise, and it took place going to the moon. Speaking about going to the moon, Neil Armstrong, believe it or not, he almost didn't make it into the NASA flight program.
Really?
Yeah, and in June of 1962, Armstrong learned that NASA was looking for its second group of astronauts. He submitted his application, but it actually arrived about a week after the applications were due. But Neil Armstrong had a friend working at NASA who put his application inside and up into the top, and that's how he got hired to be in NASA. So
Really?
You always need a friend.
Always friends
who
in high
can
places.
slip
man.
your application.
It's who you know.
Yeah.
He could have not been the first man to walk on the moon there, which is interesting.
Some people believe that he didn't.
Yeah.
Well, he was the first man to walk on Stanley Kubrick's moon set.
That's true, which
tell you
I'm
what,
fine with.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that movie Capricorn 1 with O.J. Simpson
I have
about
not.
that? It was about basically a very similar to instead of faking the moon landing, I believe it was about, from what I remember, the movie was about faking the Mars landing.
Oh.
And it had O.J. Simpson and a couple other actors as the astronauts, and the government was going through and like killing them off so that way the secret can't get out that they faked the whole Mars landing.
Well, if you do believe that the moon landing was a hoax, I recommend you not telling the astronauts to their
Or
face.
you will get punched in the
Yes,
face.
Neil
like
Armstrong,
Buzz Aldrin.
cracked a guy right in the face because at an old age. Not even that long. It was like 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe a little longer, like 8
Arthritis
years
be
ago.
damned.
Yeah, punched a guy right in the face, and on camera, and the cops were still like, "Well, he shouldn't have been a dick."
Yeah,
like
that's
that. Like
awesome.
they
Don't
didn't
be a
even.
dick to a national hero.
What are we
job.
going to arrest Buzz Aldrin?
Yeah.
He's the first man on the moon.
second man on the moon.
Second man.
Only
Yeah,
the
Neil
moon can
Armstrong.
judge him.
Yeah.
That's right. I
That's
love
awesome. That's awesome. I would also, if you believe the moon landing was faked, have we got a job opportunity for you? If you just send us a couple blank checks, we'll invest it in a new startup company we're forming. It'll make you millions.
that. Well, that's the thing is, Lance Bass is trying to go to the space or something like that.
Yeah.
He's been trying for years. But I think he'll actually be able to do it soon because companies like SpaceX
SpaceX.
are eventually going to start chartering flights.
What I don't understand is like
SpaceX and Virgin Galactic.
he's already
Yes.
like raised like $5 million or something like that, and it's like if I have any money to donate, I'm going to probably give it to sick children or diseases.
Not
or
an
some
aging
kind-
pop star?
No, I'm not going to give a pop star money to go to the moon. Who
It's
gives
been a
shit?
while since NSYNC, and he is not as successful as
It
Justin
doesn't matter.
Timberlake.
I will never send someone to the moon before I give little sick children money. I'll give animals money before I'll give it to Lance Bass.
Virgin Galactic, believe it or not, he's raising Virgin Galactic. Richard Branson, the
Rebel
owner,
billionaire Richard Branson.
Rebel brilliant, yeah.
I'd like to encourage Lance Bass right here on this podcast to give all the money they've raised to sick children.
Do it up
And send them to space.
Don't send anybody to space. We're done with space.
Virgin Galactic only charges, from what I remember when they were taking, a wait list. I think it was $250,000 for. Now, granted, you're not going up huge into space; you're just hitting the cusp of the gravity and of the arc.
It's like the biggest Tower of Terror ever created.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's which I mean, I love the Tower of Terror. If I had a bankroll, I would probably do that. But because you get to see the full curve of the Earth,
wow.
and you feel weightlessness for a little bit. But
another fun fact: a website called LunarRegistry.com will actually sell you land on the moon for $18.95 an acre.
One of those scams.
Right?
That's my least favorite thing, man. I think that's just a shame. When people are like, hey, buy a star for your girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
A star you'll never see, who you probably don't know exists.
You're paying someone to print out a piece of paper.
Yeah, I'll do that too. If that's what you want. If you want to buy a star, email me at jeffdye.com.
Yeah.
I'll print you. Pick any star you want. I'll give you the North Star for the right price for all I care. It's like they're giving away things that don't even belong to us. It's nonsense. Hey, while I wasn't talking, I was looking up on the internet. You know that movie with Liam Neeson, The Grey, that crappy movie?
Yeah.
I remember watching it thinking, like, I could probably beat up a wolf. Right?
Okay.
Like one wolf. Like four or even two, forget about it. That's a wrap. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
But in survival mode, do you guys really think you could beat up one wolf?
one wolf. If I had like full winter attire, like
just like what he had, like winter clothing.
yeah, but like my
You
arms
could
were
kill a
covered.
wolf.
Exactly. Your arms are covered a little bit, so
my
you're not
arm-
immediately just going to get.
I'm not going to get
like
I'm
jacked
not,
up.
Exactly. Like my arms are covered at least.
Let's say let's say you're wearing no shirt and he bites into your arm right there. You still have this hand. You still have one arm to like break his neck or something.
I think I would be pretty thoroughly savaged, but I could kill
Yeah,
a single
a
wolf.
single wolf.
If I'm in the vicinity of a wolf, that means I would assume I'm in the vicinity of trees with branches
Sure.
that I could use as some sort of
I'm telling you, I
assaulting
could
device.
kill one wolf. I'm sure of it. And I think I could kill a wolf right now in my kitchen. But I believe, especially if my life's on the line, adrenaline kicks in, I'm going to kill a wolf.
Would you be able to survive from the aftermath though?
Probably. I'll probably die out, like lose blood and be in the. But that wolf's dead.
That wolf's dead.
I'd like to take a less violent route. I would probably just pee on the wolf to assert my dominance and then start my own pack.
No, we're talking about survival right now, and this guy
This
will
is just
kill
this
you.
wolf.
He'll bite
This
your
wolf
wiener
is
off.
here to bite my dick
He will
off.
bite your dick off. And so, also, while I wasn't talking, we're going to post this on the podcast. Hopefully, you guys have this kind of technology available.
I think so.
This is how big the wolves are. This is a photo I found on the internet. So, because I remember after the movie, I was running my mouth about how I could kill a wolf. And then I was like, plus they made them too big, those CGI wolves.
Yeah.
They made them all gigantic. I've never seen a wolf that big. There are wolves as big as the movie suggests.
Okay.
So, for those of you who can't see the picture, we'll obviously link to that in the comment section.
It's a giant
This is
wolf.
like, at least, if this is a small man, it's still a 5-foot wolf, but it's probably closer to 6 feet.
It resembles it's like a black version of a dire wolf from Game of Thrones.
Exactly,
Like, it's pretty, a small child could ride this wolf.
Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah, like an elementary school kid.
Yeah.
But you see that photo, but I still think I could kill one.
I'd like to think I could. I think now, Jeff, you're in TV. You could pitch that to you're on a bunch of shows.
Jeff Dye Fights a Wolf.
Jeff Dye Fights a Wolf. Well, that's a television show on TBS or Spike
Let
TV.
me just
right
tell
there.
you how happy that makes me.
Let's-
Wolf fights.
Let's pitch a show where Jeff Dye fights animals.
Yeah,
If
I
Pete-
love that. You name an animal, I'll beat the hell out of
If
it.
PETA will let us, we'll have to go to Japan because they'll put anything on television.
Could you kill more wolves than a 5th grader?
I'll smash a wolf. Well, one thing is interesting. I don't know if you guys know this. If you ever go to Montana or you ever go to any of these places who generally don't like animals that much in the first place, so this isn't that shocking, but this is a little fact for you. These places hate wolves. It's the best way to friend a farmer or something like that, is to make fun of wolves or talk trash about wolves, because it's an agriculture thing where the wolves come in and they like mess with all their stuff and scare away, I don't know what it is, but they hate wolves.
They hate wolves.
So if you're ever in some Montana or Idaho or someplace like that, start talking trash about the wolves, people are going to love it.
Good to know.
if you're
I've always
trying to-
had trouble connecting with them.
Yeah,
you're
you
trying to
have that in
hitchhike-
common.
Yeah.
If you're trying to hitchhike in Montana, just make a sign that says, I hate wolves.
I hate wolves. Can I have a ride?
Can I have a I hate wolves. Are you going to Cleveland?
Not a murderer.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We both hate wolves. We're both going to Tuscaloosa.
We both happen to be here.
We're
All right,
both cute.
so
trying to leave.
unfortunately, we are approaching that time. We're going to wrap things up.
Wrap things up.
Jeff, can we get one more rat fact?
One more rat fact.
Sure.
Style?
A rat, full-sized rat, can squeeze into your house in a hole that's the size of a quarter.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. Their bones stay solid, but everything else can just kind of mush through
Ugh.
yeah. Yeah.
My God.
Rat fact.
Rat fact.
That is
Speaking of
rat
quarters,
fact.
my buddy just told me this. I was talking to him on the way here. He was quarters from 1964 and prior. You can sell them for quite a bit of money on eBay due to the silver content that was used to make quarters prior to 1964.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about
you can,
this.
So if any of you have a quarter prior to 1964, you might be able to get more than 25 cents for it on the
So,
internet.
yeah, hold on
Maybe
to
like
that.
38 cents.
Maybe
Exactly.
Yeah, or
You
like
could-
50.
You could buy a stamp nowadays,
Yeah.
which is like 48.
You could buy one stamp, but you still need another tinier one to send a letter.
I was just
Shipping
an interesting
and
little,
handling.
not a fact, but I would love to just quiz you guys. Does you guys as parents collect the quarters? I feel like every mom collects
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
I actually
quarters.
was a bank teller for a little while, so...
How annoying was that? All the middle-aged ladies like,
you
is
have
the
any
new
Idahos?"
is the new Idaho quarter out yet? And you're like, get out of here! It's a
Yeah.
quarter, ding dong. My mom, she's like, she collects it for all three of us kids, but she won't let us have them.
Yeah.
She has them like in these like leather books that she
Oh,
got
yeah.
off QVC or whatever, and each quarter has a spot for each state. And I don't know if she's keeping up with it still, but I remember talking trash to her about it, like, I don't want that. I'm not going to have it.
No.
And she's like, well, someday you'll thank me. I was like, or someday I'll sell it for
Yeah.
$12.50.
Someday
Yeah.
I'll need to do my laundry really
Right.
badly.
The exact worth of
Yeah.
those quarters. That's what I'm going to sell it
I'll
for.
take the leather book and go to Little Caesars with it.
Right, it's pointless. Man.
All right, folks. This has been Today We Learned with Razzle and Dan. Our guest again has been Jeff Dye,
Jeff
at
Dye.
Jeff Dye on Twitter.
On Twitter.
And Jeff, where can our listeners?
what do you got coming up?
Do you have anything coming up you want to promote?
Let's say this will be airing in 2 weeks.
Sure, I'm going to be in Side Splitters in Tampa, May 20 something. I don't know. Down the road.
Down the road, what do you got
And
coming up
then,
in June?
Money from Strangers season 2 is coming out real soon on MTV.
Okay.
And then also on Girl Code, which is on MTV, which airs every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Excellent.
At 10:30. Yeah,
And your website, www.jeffdye.com.
that's it. I'm pretty easy to
Perfect.
find.
All right, so folks, you heard it here. You learned something. Hopefully, if you have any facts for us, hit us up on Twitter at OsteoFerocious or at My Name Is Razzle2.
The number 2, not to be confused with the word TOO
Exactly.
Or TWO.
or TWO.
or just TO.
Or TO.
Yeah, Terrell
You know?
Owens doesn't. That's his exact email address, so he doesn't want that.
Oh, really?
No, it's not.
That's cool. Yeah, my name is Razzle2 or at OsteoFerocious, at Jeff Dye. We want to thank you for listening to Today We Learned. Go out there and learn something and tell your friends.
Right on.
Thank you.
Come on.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Now leaving Nerdist.com.